Hello, welcome to Papa Nick's Music. I am, as always, your host, Papa Nick Lewis. And we are kicking off a brand new year. Woo! Welcome to 2026. And yeah, I had to check what year it was. For the last couple of years, to celebrate New Year's, I've combined my love of football tournaments and playoffs with my love of music, and I've set up track versus track tournaments. A couple of years ago, it was Monkey Bowl. Last year, it was the Beach Bowl. And this year, as you know, because you've already seen the title of the video, we are doing the Beatle Bowl. Oh, we're so excited. What we're going to do over the next few weeks is I'm going to take each of the Beatles albums and I'm going to pit them one against the other in a track versus track tournament to see which is the champion. Ooh, it'll be fun. Before we get into it, though, I want to talk a little bit about methodology. How did I set this up? If you're doing a track versus track, one of the things that you're hoping for is that the albums that you're working with have the same number of tracks. And we don't have that with the Beatles. So what I did, first thing I did, the first executive decision was, we're not counting this thing. Yellow Submarine doesn't count. Half of Yellow Submarine is not Beatles music. It's George Martin's orchestral backdrops for the movie. So we get rid of that. Once you've gotten rid of Yellow Submarine, the album with the fewest number of tracks is Magical Mystery Tour. It has 11 tracks. 11. That's a good number. It's odd, which means you won't have any ties, and it's small enough that you can do it pretty quickly. So I decided that every album would need to have 11 tracks. So for all the rest of the albums, I went through and I culled out a few tracks. When I was culling, the first choices always went to the first priority, the highest priority for culling were covers. So if an album had 14 tracks, but 3 of the tracks were covers, boom, easy. Just nip those 3 covers and we now have 11 original Beatle tracks to go against the other original Beatle tracks. If an album, on the other hand, has no covers, or fewer covers than the number I need to reduce the track listing by to get it down to 11, then I also had to cull out some original works. And there I just went with my gut, which are the weakest tracks, and I pulled those out. You'll be able to figure as we go through which tracks I've pulled out. So what we end up with is 12 albums, and 11 of them have 11 tracks. The 12th album presents the final issue as far as my methodology goes, and that was this thing. Am I gonna cull down the White Album to 11 tracks? There are a lot of people who think that if we culled the White Album down to 11 tracks, it would be a much better album. Don't want to get into that conversation. What I decided to do with the White Album is a double album. So, okay, I just split it in half. We've got White Album, or The Beatles, Part 1, and The Beatles, Part 2. So, Disc 1, Disc 2, Record 1, Record 2, however it appears in the Rolodex of your mind, whether it's on vinyl or on CD. We've got 2 distinct chunks. So, Beatles Part 1, Beatles Part 2. Which means this one album is now 2 albums, each with 11 tracks, which means I now have 13 albums to go up against one another. So what I decided to do was set up a 16-team tournament. My top 3 seeds are going to have byes. They're just automatically going to go into the second round. The remaining teams will struggle in the first round to generate. Yeah, you know how that works. Now, seeding for the tournament overall is overwhelmingly, although not completely, based on the ranking that I did. I ranked the Beatles albums sometime in the distant past. You can scroll down, you'll see it. It's down there somewhere. And I'm using those rankings as my seedings. I did alter them a little bit, mostly because of this thing. This is now 2 albums. So that means I got to have 2 spots for it. One part went up, the other part went down, and we'll talk more about that as we go. So if, spoiler alert, if you want to watch that video and not know what my number one ranked Beatle album is, stop watching this video now. Go back, watch that video. I'm going to be ruining everything from this point forward. But that's how I generated my individual albums. They all have 11 tracks, and that's how I set up the tournament seeding. That actually, I love my spreadsheets. But that's how I picked the albums and then set up the tournament seeding. What we're going to do today is the preliminaries. We're going to go through all of my first level. I've got 5 contests that we have to do today. Next week we are going to do the winners of those, and then the ultimate winners to get into, penultimate winners, to get into the actual final track versus track. And then 2 weeks from now, we're going to do that final, the championship, along with a little extra fun dealing with, other Beatle-related stuff that doesn't fit into the tournament. Cool? Cool. Before we get into today's festivities, though, of course, we have to talk about the subjectivity notice. We firmly believe here at Papa Nick's Music that there is no such thing as objectively good or objectively bad art. There is only art that we like and art that we do not. And as long as we keep that in mind, this is a fantastic conversation. It's entertaining, it's fun, it's informative. It's our chance to see the world from somebody else's perspective. And I would argue that is always a good thing. The conversation, though, fun and interesting as it is, goes right down the shit chute as soon as somebody in that conversation insists on being seen as objectively right. So I'm not making objective claims here. Obviously, I'm not. I don't think they can be. I don't think they can be made, he said, completing his thought grammatically correctly. So I'm not making objective claims. I would appreciate it in your comments, should you choose to comment, and I definitely encourage you to. But I encourage you, if you do comment, please avoid using objective framework in your comment. We'll all have a much happier conversation that way. Cool? Cool. Shall we start? My top 3 seeds all drew buys for this first round, so I'm going to just knock them out. Seed number 1, the number 1 rated album, the number 1 ranked album when I did my album ranking, Abbey Road. Abbey Road immediately goes into round 2 of the contest. The second seeded album, Revolver, goes into the next round of the playoffs. And then finally, my third seeded album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, automatically goes into the next round. Which means my first actual contest here comes between the 4th ranked album, which is Rubber Soul, and that goes up against my 13th ranked album, which is The Beatles, Part 2. So the second album of the White Album goes up against Rubber Soul. We ready? Track number 1. Track number 1 on Rubber Soul is Drive My Car. Baby, you can drive my car. Beep, 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 yeah. And that goes up against track number 1 on Beatles Part 2, which is Birthday. They say it's your birthday. Well, it's my birthday too, yeah. So, Drive My Car against Birthday. We're going with Birthday on that one. Drive My Car is a nifty. I mean, this is pretty close. I like both of them. But, I like 99.9% of all of these songs. So, Track number 2, track number 2 on Rubber Soul is You Won't See Me. Track number 2 on the Beatles Part 2 is Your Blues. This one is easy. Oh my God, easy. You Won't See Me is one of my all-time favorite Beatles songs, and I've never cared much for Your Blues at all. So, that's easy. Track number 3 on Rubber Soul is Nowhere Man. Track number 3 on Beatles Part 2 is Mother Nature's Son. He's a real nowhere man versus Mother Nature's Son. Boom. Yeah, we're going to go with Nowhere Man on that. Mother Nature's Son is a nice song, but Track number 4 on Rubber Soul is Think for Yourself. Track number 4 on Beatles Part 2 is Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except Me and My Monkey. That one's not hard. That's Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except Me and My Monkey. Track number 5. Track number 5 on Rubber Soul is The Word. Track number 5 on Beatles Part 2 is Sexy Sadie. Now this one is a little bit challenging, mostly because I'm not particularly fond of either song. Yeah, I'm going to go with The Word over Sexy Sadie. Don't really care. Track number 6 on Rubber Soul. It's heresy, isn't it? To say that you don't care for Beatles songs? Oh, well. Track number 6 on Rubber Soul is Michelle. Track number 6 on Beatles Part 2 is Helter Skelter. Ooh, 2 Paul songs. And of those 2, I'm going with Helter Skelter. I mean, I like Michelle, but I really like Helter Skelter. Track number 7 on Rubber Soul is Girl. Or I should say, Girl. And that goes up against track number 7 on Beatles Part 2, which is Long, Long, Long. And that is no contest. We're going with Girl over Long, Long, Long. When I was trimming down Beatles Part 2, decided it needed to be 13 tracks, and it had, I wanted it to have 11 tracks, and it had 13. So I only needed to cut 2. One of them was easy, Revolution 9. I mean, oh, of course. That's the no-brainer. I know there are people who admire Revolution 9, and my hat's off to you if you do. Oh man, I wish I could join you on that mountaintop, but it is not my cup of tea. But I had to do some long, hard thinking as far as what the second cull was going to be, and Long, Long, Long. It barely edged out the Good Night. Can't do Good Night. Track number 8, he said, getting back to business, on Rubber Soul is I'm Looking Through You. That goes up against track number 8 on Beatles Part 2, which is Revolution 1. Ooh. I'm Looking Through You is right up there with You Won't See Me. I mean, these are songs that are part of my DNA as far as what I think music is. Revolution 1 I like better than the single version of Revolution, and I heard the single. I grew up listening to the single version of Revolution. I heard Revolution 1 many, many, many years later, and ended up liking it better than the first version that I knew. That's unusual. Usually, when you're familiar with 2 versions of the first version that you heard is the one that sticks. Which is my way of padding out time here. I'm Looking Through You versus Revolution 1. I'm Looking Through You versus Revolution 1. Yeah, I'm Looking Through You. That was really close, though. Really close. Track number 9. Track number 9 on Rubber Soul is In My Life. Track number 9 on Beatles Part 2 is Honey Pie. And as much as I like Honey Pie, that's not a fair fight. We are going with In My Life on that one. Track number 10 on Rubber Soul is Wait Till I Come Back to Your Side. Track number 10 on Beatles Part 2 is Savoy Truffle. Yeah, that's easy. Wait beats Savoy Truffle. And then finally, track number 11 on Rubber Soul is If I Needed Someone. Track number 11 on Beatles Part 2, Cry Baby Cry. Also easy, If I Needed Someone. So, in the first matchup in our first round, we have Rubber Soul handily beating Beatles Part 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-3. Rubber Soul advances. Beatles Part 2 does not. Not surprised. Second game of our preliminary round. We have the album ranked 5th. That was harder to say than it should have been. A Hard Day's Night, which goes up against the album ranked at number 12, which is Let It Be. Never been a big fan of Let It Be. Let's see if it has what it takes to go toe-to-toe with Hard Day's Night. I know which way I would bet, but, this is why we play the game. Track number 1 on Hard Day's Night is the title track, A Hard Day's Night. Track number 1 on Let It Be is Two of Us. Okay, Hard Day's Night, iconic. That opening chord, clang. Track number 1 on Let It Be is Two of Us. Hard Day's Night versus Two of Us. I'm going to go with Two of Us on that. I've always liked Two of Us. There's something about it, something that's bouncy and happy about it that just, it scratches a really deep itch. So, yeah, Two of Us. We'll go for that. Track number 2 on Hard Day's Night is I Should Have Known Better, and that goes up against track number 2 on Let It Be, Dig a Pony. Ooh, that is so easy. I don't even have to think about it. I Should Have Known Better in a landslide. Track number 3 on Hard Day's Night is If I Fell. Track number 3 on Let It Be is Across the Universe. Also a cakewalk. Okay, there will be times when I will admit to borderline heresy, heretical thoughts as I walk through here. And one of them is that I don't think Across the Universe is all that great of a song. I think musically it is simplistic. And I think lyrically it is even more simplistic. And while there is something to be said for a nice, simple song, if you are saying, I love you in a nice, simple way, that's charming. If you're saying, give peace a chance in a simple way, that's a platitude. So, never been a big fan of Across the Universe. If I Fell, easily. Track number 4 on Hard Day's Night, I'm Happy Just to Dance with You. Goes up against track number 4 on Let It Be, I, Me, Mine. Ooh, George on George. Yeah, I'm Happy Just to Dance with You is better than I, Me, Mine. Not even going to explain it. Track number 5 on Hard Day's Night is Tell Me Why. And that goes up against Dig It. Oh, that's easy. Tell Me Why. I don't even need to drag that one out. Track number 6 on Hard Day's Night is Can't Buy Me Love. Track number 6 on Let It Be is the title track, Let It Be. Ooh, talk about iconic. Let It Be. Never been one of my favorites. I much prefer Can't Buy Me Love. Oof, this is starting to get ugly. Track number 7 on Hard Day's Night is Anytime at All. Anytime at all. Anytime at all. All you got to do is call and I'll be there. And that goes up against track number 7 on Let It Be, which is I've Got a Feeling. Which goes to I've Got a Feeling. A feeling deep inside. Oh, yeah. Track number 8 on Hard Day's Night is I'll Cry Instead, which goes up against track number 8 on Let It Be, which is One After 9:09. And I'm going to go 1 After 9:09 on that one. That's close, and if I'm being completely honest, I'm probably giving it to it because I'm feeling a little sympathy for Let It Be because it's getting the snot beat out of it. But, hey. Decisions are decisions. Track number 8. No, track number 9. We just did number 8. Thank you, Nick. Track number 9 is Things We Said Today, and that goes up against track number 9 on Let It Be, The Long and Winding Road. Another one of those heretical thoughts. Never been fond of The Long and Winding Road. It's the long and boring song for me. So, Things We Said Today easily takes that one. Track number 10 on A Hard Day's Night is When I Get Home versus track number 10 on Let It Be, For You Blue. Yeah, When I Get Home. I'm not super fond of either song. I don't really dislike either song. They're both, I could flip a coin. Finally, track number 11 on A Hard Day's Night is I'll Be Back. If you break my heart, I'll go, but I'll be back again. And that goes up against the other back song on Let It Be, Get Back. JoJo was a man. Let's see. I'll Be Back versus Get Back. I'll Be Back versus Get Back. They're both very good songs, both very strong songs. Different songs. Yeah. I know they're all different songs. I mean, they've got different vibes to them. But we're going with I'll Be Back. Oof. That was rough. So, Hard Day's Night advances to the next round. It wins by a score of 8-3. Sorry, Let It Be. Ooh. Okay, we've had 2 bloodbaths so far. And I'm not horribly surprised because the 2 albums that have had their blood bathed out of them, Let It Be and the back half of the Beatles, the White Album. I'm one of those pedantic assholes who always refers to it as the Beatles. I never call it the White Album. Yeah. But those are my, far and away, hands down, my least favorite albums out of the whole discography. From here on, the contest should be a little bit more even, because from here on, all of these albums have a bunch of songs that I really, really like, and a few songs that I'm iffy on. So the contest should be much closer going forward. Our next matchup is between my number 6 seeded album, Magical Mystery Tour, the trendsetter when it comes to 11 tracks per album, and my number 11 album, which is With the Beatles. So we've got Magical Mystery Tour up against With the Beatles. This should be fun. Track number 1 on Magical Mystery Tour is the title track, Magical Mystery Tour. That goes up against track number 1 on With the Beatles, which is It Won't Be Long. It won't be long till I belong to you. Versus Magical Mystery Tour. When I think of Magical Mystery Tour, the main thing I like about Magical Mystery Tour is the sound of Ringo's drums. Oh man, there's such a great crisp snare sound in that. I just love it. But I like It Won't Be Long much better. So we're going to go with It Won't Be Long on that one. Track number 2 on Magical Mystery Tour is The Fool on the Hill, Day After Day, Alone on a Hill. And that goes up against All I've Got to Do on With the Beatles. That is easy. Fool on the Hill in a Cakewalk. Track number 3 on Magical Mystery Tour is Flying, and that's up against track number 3 on With the Beatles, which is All My Loving. All My Loving versus Flying. That's easy. All My Loving. I should be saying All My Lovin'. Again, pedantic. Track number 4 on Magical Mystery Tour is Blue Jay Way. Track number 4 on With the Beatles, Don't Bother Me. Don't bother me. Don't bother me. I'm going to go with Blue Jay Way on that one. Blue Jay Way is one of those that I think most fans don't much care for, but I've always really liked. So, yeah, there we go. Track number 5 on Magical Mystery Tour is Your Mother Should Know. Ooh, one of Paul's granny songs. Up against track number 5 on With the Beatles, which is Little Child. Little child, little child, won't you dance with me? I'm so sad and lonely. Because Your Mother Should Know is going to win that battle. Track number 6 on Magical Mystery Tour is I Am the Walrus. That goes up against track number 6 on With the Beatles, Till There Was You. This shouldn't be close. I mean, I Am the Walrus. That's classic. Till There Was You. It was a song from Music Man. I mean, come on. But it is actually close. I am actually having to think about this one. Yeah, I'm going with I Am the Walrus. Oh, that was by a hair, though. He said, Jokingly. Track number 7 on Magical Mystery Tour is Hello Goodbye. That goes up against track number 7 on With the Beatles, Hold Me Tight. Right now, hold me tight. Up against You Say Yes, I Say No. You say why, I say I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to go with Hello Goodbye. I like the complexity of Hello Goodbye. Track number 8 on Magical Mystery Tour is Strawberry Fields Forever against track number 8 on With the Beatles, You Really Got a Hold on Me. And that is super easy. Strawberry Fields Forever. Oof. Track number 9 on Magical Mystery Tour is Penny Lane up against track number 9 on With the Beatles, I Want to Be Your Man. I Want to Be Your Man. And that's easy. Penny Lane. This is turning out to be much uglier than I thought it was going to be. Track number 10 on Magical Mystery Tour, Baby You're a Rich Man. Baby You're a Rich Man. Up against track number 10 on With the Beatles, Not a Second Time. Baby You're a Rich Man. Track number 11. I'm trying not to look at my check marks down here, but ooh, this is grisly. Just thank God I'm not using a red pen. Track number 11 on Magical Mystery Tour is All You Need Is Love. Track number 11 on With the Beatles is Money, That's What I Want. Now, I'm hesitating here. I know which one's going to win. All You Need Is Love is going to win. I know All You Need Is Love is going to win. All You Need Is Love is a better track than Money, That's What I Want. The thing that Money, That's What I Want has going for it is that it is a fun track to listen to. All You Need Is Love, it's not like painful to listen to, but it's not fun. It's not a song that's going to it doesn't make me happy when I listen to it the way Money makes me happy. But yeah, I got to go with All You Need Is Love. Oh man, the most lopsided contest so far. Magical Mystery Tour beats With the Beatles by a score of 9-2. Jeez Louise. That was ugly. Sorry, With the Beatles. Que sera, sera. Okay, next. We've got, this is our next to final contest of this preliminary round. My 7th ranked album is The Beatles Part 1, the first album of The Beatles, commonly known as the White Album, but I'm being a shit. And that goes up against my 10th ranked album, which is Beatles for Sale. Let's see if this one's close. Number 1 track, the first track on Beatles Part 1, Back in the U.S., Back in the U.S., Back in the USSR. And that goes up against number 1 on Beatles for Sale, No Reply. This shouldn't be close. Back in the USSR is a classic, but I'm going with No Reply. I've always liked No Reply. There's something about it that, I don't know. Track number 2 on Beatles Part 1 is Dear Prudence. Track number 2 on Beatles for Sale is I'm a Loser. Dear Prudence, won't you come out and play? Hey, 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 hey. He said, just completely disregarding the actual melody. I'm a Loser. You know what? I'm a Loser on that one. I think most Beatle fans are going to pick Dear Prudence, but I'm a loser. There's a joke there. I'm not going to. It's at my own expense, but I'm passing it by. Track number 3 on Beatles Part 1, Looking Through a Glass Onion. And that goes up against track number 3 on Beatles for Sale, Baby's in Black and I'm Wearing Blue. Oh, what can I do? And I'm going Baby's in Black. I mean, I like Glass Onion. I like all of these songs so far. It's just that's been the closest one so far. Track number 4, we've got Obla Di Obla Da up against the Beatles cover of Chuck Berry's Rock and Roll Music. Now, there are, I think, a few choices I've made so far, a few statements I've made so far that are making stalwart, lifelong, rabidly devoted Beatles fans irritated, if not apoplectic with rage. But this is going to send, if you've been hanging on by a thread, get ready, because this is going to send you right out. And that is, I'm picking Obla Di Obla Da, because I've always liked that song. Track number 5 on Beatles Part 1 is Martha My Dear. Track number 5 on Beatles for Sale is I'll Follow the Sun. And this is not close. I mean, I'll Follow the Sun. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous track that would beat almost any track from Beatles Part 1, but there's no way it's beating Martha My Dear, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. Just hands down, bar none, regardless of whether it's a Beatles song or not. So yeah, Martha My Dear wins that one. Track number 6, I'm So Tired, I Don't Know What to Do, versus Kansas City, Hey, 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 Hey. And that's I'm So Tired easily. Track number 7 on Beatles Part 1 is Blackbird. Blackbird Singing in the Dead of Night. And that goes up against, on Beatles for Sale, track number 7 is 8 Days a Week. And we're going with Blackbird on that one. Track number 8 on Beatles Part 1 is Piggies. And that goes up against track number 8 on Beatles for Sale, Words of Love. And that one's easy. We're going with Piggies on that one. One of my favorite George songs. Track number 9 on Beatles Part 1, Rocky Raccoon, a song that a lot of Beatles stalwarts really don't care much for, but I've always loved. And that goes up against, on Beatles for Sale, Every Little Thing. Every Little Thing. Every Little Thing versus Rocky Raccoon. As I'm sitting here trying to think of them, the more of Every Little Thing is coming to my mind. It's forcing Rocky Raccoon out, so we're going with Every Little Thing. Surprisingly. Track number, for me, surprisingly. Track number 10 on Beatles Part 1 is I Will. A very sweet Paul song. Up against track number 10 on Beatles for Sale, I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, So I'll Go. Yeah, I'm going with I Don't Want to Spoil the Party on that one. Which surprises me because, but same thing. It's more of it is it's playing as I bring up both of these songs. They both start playing in my head, and one of them drowns the other out, and I'm assuming that means I like it better. Track number 11 on Beatles Part 1 is Julia. Track number 11 on Beatles for Sale is What You're Doing. Ooh, what you're doing, I'm feeling blue and lonely. Would it be too much to ask of you what you're doing to me? Up against Julia. I think Julia is a very pretty song, but it's not one of John's better songs. So yeah, we're going with What You're Doing on that one. Wow! Surprise, surprise, surprise! In an upset, Beatles for Sale wins by a score of 6-5. I literally did not see that one coming. I thought Beatles Part 1 was going to last quite a bit longer than that. Oh well, that's why we play the game. And here we are. We've come to the final match of our preliminary round. We have the number 8 seeded album, which is Please Please Me. Oh yeah, like I please you. And that goes up against the number 9th seeded album, Help. I Need Somebody. Help. Not just anybody. Help. I need someone. Help. see how much of that survives the edit. Track number 1 on Please Please Me is I Saw Her Standing There. Track number 1 on Help is the title track, Help. And while Help is an iconic song, I Saw Her Standing There is, I remember when I was in college, I went to a party that a friend of mine, at a friend of mine's house. At the house of a friend of mine. That's a good way of saying that. And I was bitter green with envy because he had a copy of Meet the Beatles, the American release, and it had I Saw Her Standing There on it, and that meant he could listen to I Saw Her Standing There whenever he wanted to, and tells you how much I like that song. Track number 2 on Please Please Me is Misery. And that goes up against track number 2 on Help, The Night Before. That is easy. The Night Before. Misery is not a bad song, but... Track number 3 on Please Please Me, Anna, Go to Him. Versus track number 3 on Help, You've Got to Hide Your Love Away. I love Anna, Go to Him, but You've Got to Hide Your Love Away. Oh, man. One of the first songs I taught myself how to play on the guitar. Track number 4 on Please Please Me is Ask Me Why. Track number 4 on Help is I Need You. Also easy, I Need You. That's one of George's betters. One of George's betters. Track number 5 on Please Please Me, we have the title track, Please Please Me. Track number 5 on Help is Another Girl. For I have got another girl. Which I like better than Please Please Me, so there we go. Track number 6 on Please Please Me is Love Me Do, and that goes up against You're Gonna Lose That Girl, or You're Gonna Lose That Gull. Get some French fries, the gull will come back. It's a seagull joke, yes. I'm not above making bad seagull jokes. Love Me Do against You're Gonna Lose That Girl. Yeah, You're Gonna Lose That Girl. Man, Help is on a run here. Number 7 on Please Please Me. Track 7 is P.S. I Love You. You. That goes up against Ticket to Ride. Ooh, man, that was a slaughter. Ticket to Ride in a cakewalk. Track number 8 on Please Please Me is Baby, It's You. La 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 la. And that goes up against It's Only Love, and that is all. Why should I feel the way I do? It's only love. That is all. But it's so hard loving you. But it's not so hard picking It's Only Love. Track number 9 on Please Please Me is Do You Want to Know a Secret? Up against track number 9 on Help, You Like Me Too Much and I Like You. Do you want to know a secret? Track number 10 on Please Please Me is There's a Place. Track number 10 on Help, Tell Me What You See. Tell me what you see. Ooh, track number 11 on Please Please Me is Twist and Shout. Track number 11 on Help is I've Just Seen a Face. Jesus Christ, I've Just Seen a Face. Help beats Please Please Me by a score of 9-2. Jeez Louise. Man, that was ugly. Whoa, whew. But there we go. We have cleared the decks. We've done our preliminary rounds. We have our contestants set for the next round. And that is going to be next week. I'm going to do those next rounds and then the winners of those rounds to figure out who the finalists will be. And then the following week, we're going to do the final. Cool? Cool. Oof. Man, it's going to take a while for me to recover from the psychic trauma that was that bloodletting. I also have to set up my spreadsheets and give myself time to forget the song, so that'll be fun. But anyway, that's inside baseball. You don't need to know about my spreadsheets. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I would appreciate it if you'd click the like button. While you're down there clicking, if you haven't already done so, I'd appreciate it if you'd click the subscribe button. It costs you nothing, but it means the world to me, so I very much appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you're enjoying your new year so far. And I hope that the rest of your day is joyful. See you soon.